Question number 21. Write the quadratic equation x plus 2 over x is equal to 5 in standard form. Is it A, x squared minus 5x plus 2 is equal to 0, B, x squared plus 5x minus 2 is equal to 0, C, x squared minus 5x minus 2 is equal to 0, or letter D, x squared plus 5x plus 2 is equal to 0? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Okay, my dear math learners, as what I have said earlier, in transforming equations into quadratic equation, what you need to do is to multiply the whole equation by its LCD. Or in this case, there is only one denominator, then you multiply the whole equation by its denominator. So if you multiply the value of x to the three terms that we see here, this one will become x squared. Okay, so we have x squared there. This one will become 2x over x. Canceling the x, this will become positive 2. So, positive 2, positive 2. So, therefore, B and C is already wrong. Okay, now this will become positive 5x. But the 5x here is not in the standard form. So, we need to transpose it to the other side. And remember, this is 5x when multiplied by x, right? And that is our linear term. So, the positive 5 when transposed to the other side, that will become minus 5x. So therefore, the correct answer for this question is letter A. Let's check whether we are correct. Alright, my dear math learners. Now, let us go to question number 22. 1 root of x squared plus 6x minus 16 is equal to 0 is negative 8. What is the other root? Is it A, negative 2, B, positive 2, C, negative 4, or D, 4? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Now, my dear math learners, this is very, very easy because you can apply what you have learned in the sum and product of the roots. Now, when one root is given and then your equation, your quadratic equation is in the standard form, then what you need to do is you just divide the value of your C to one of your roots because as we know, the value of C there is basically the product of the roots. So, therefore, we have negative 16 divided by negative 8, that is positive 2. So, letter B is the correct answer. Let's check whether we are correct. Alright, my dear math learners. Now, let us go to question number 23. 1 root of 3x squared minus 4x minus 4 is equal to 0 is 2. What is the other root? Is it A, 2/3, B, negative 2/3, C, 4/3, or D, negative 4/3? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Now, my dear math learners, don't get me wrong in the previous question. Because as what I've said in that explanation, in getting the other root for a quadratic equation, you just divide the value of your C to the one of the other roots. But that is if and only if your A is equal to 1. Okay? Now, in this scenario, we have our value 3. If this 3 will be divided because according to the sum and product of the roots, the sum is negative B over A. And the product is C over A. So, if we divide this negative 4 over 3, it is already in the lowest terms. So, therefore, we just write negative 4 over 3 as our product. Now, if this is our product and one of our roots is positive 2, then what you will do is you just divide this by 2. And of course, remember in the rule of dividing fractions, a whole number has an invisible over 1. So, you just use the KFC, the keep, flip, and change the sign into multiplication. So, that will be negative 4, keep. Then your second will be flip, 1/2. And then the divide will be multiplication. Okay, so of course, you can use cross cancellation in this part. This will become 1 and this will become 2 by dividing both sides by 2. Alright, so negative 2 over positive 3. Alright, so therefore the correct answer is letter B. Let's check whether we are correct. Alright, my dear math learners. Now, let us go to question number 24. What are the roots of the quadratic equation x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0? Is it A, 3 and negative 5, B, negative 3 and 5, C, negative 3 and negative 5, or D, positive 3 and positive 5? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Okay, my dear math learners, in solving this one, we can still apply the factoring. Alright. So, when we factor the first term, that is x and x. When we factor a negative last term, that would be positive and negative. So, now we need to consider what are the factors of negative 15 in which when we add them, the answer would be negative 2. So, that would be negative 5, and positive 3. Alright, so we apply now the zero product property. So this will become equal to 0. X minus 5 is equal to 0. So that will become positive 5, and this will become negative 3. And that is, alright, letter B. Okay, let's check whether we are correct. Alright, my dear math learners, I hope you got that one. Now, let us go to question number 25. What is the quadratic equation if the factors are 3x minus 2 and x plus 4? Is it A, 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 is equal to 0? B, 3x squared minus 10x minus 8 is equal to 0? C, 3x squared plus 10x plus 8 is equal to 0? Or D, 3x squared minus 10x plus 8 is equal to 0? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Okay, my dear math learners, in solving this, we just apply the FOIL method. So, if you multiply this one, that will be 3x squared. If you multiply this one, that would be positive 12x. If we multiply this one, this will become minus 2x because negative and positive will result to negative. Now, for the last part, negative 2 times positive 4, that is negative 8. So, we combine like terms, we have 3x squared plus 10x minus 8 is equal to 0. Alright. So, therefore, the correct answer is letter letter A. Alright, let's check whether we are correct. Okay, my dear math learners, I hope you got that one. Question number 26. 1 root of 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 is equal to 0 is 3 halves. What is the other root? Is it A, negative 4, B, negative 3, C, negative 2, or D, negative 8? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Okay, my dear math learners, 1 root is given and that is a fraction. So, in solving this one, of course, we will consider the value of our C, this one. Okay, so that is negative 12. But, since our A here is not 1, so we divide that. Okay, so the answer for this is negative 6. So, now, our product of the roots is negative 6. Okay, so that is the product of the roots, negative 6. But this is not yet the answer that we are looking for because we are looking for the other root. So what we need to do is divide this to our 1 root given. So that is 3 over 2. Of course, when you are dealing with whole numbers, there is a over 1 there. Of course, negative 6 is not a whole number. It is an integer. Alright. So let's just copy that one, negative 6 over 1 because keep, flip, and change. Now, we flip our 3 halves, that will become 2/3. And then, we change divide into multiply. So, negative 6 times 2, that would be 12. Negative 12. And this will become 3. So, if we simplify that one, that is negative 4. That is letter A. Let's check whether we are correct. Alright, my dear math learners, I hope you got that one. Now, let us go to question number 27. Which quadratic equation has no real roots? Is it A, 4m squared plus 2m is equal to 1, B, 3n squared plus 5n minus 8 is equal to 0, C, 2m squared minus 16 is equal to 0, or D, v squared minus 2v plus 5 is equal to 0? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Okay, my dear math learners, in order to answer this problem, one of the things that you need to consider is the value of your A and C, in which, for you to have no real roots, you aim to have a negative discriminant. So therefore, your A and C must have no negative. Now, let's check letter A. When we transpose 1 here to the left side, that will become negative 1. So having a C which is negative 1, that's wrong. Letter B, your C is already negative. Letter C, your value of C is already negative. So, in letter D, your A is positive, your C is positive. Therefore, this is the correct answer because this will yield into a negative discriminant. Let's check whether we are correct. Letter D. Alright, my dear math learners, I hope you got that one trick that I have shared to you. Let's go to number 28. These are the roots of the corresponding quadratic equation of a quadratic inequality. Is it A, test intervals, B, solution set, C, critical numbers, or D, test numbers? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Alright, my dear math learners, now we are dealing with quadratic inequality. Now, in solving quadratic inequality, you will be having solution sets for the answer. So, of course, the solution set has a boundary, and that boundary are known as the roots of a quadratic equation corresponding to a quadratic inequality when it is equated to 0. So therefore, my dear math learners, what do you call that boundaries or that certain points? Alright, so that, my dear math learners, that is what we call critical numbers. Letter C is the correct answer. Let's check. Alright, now let us go to question number 29. These are the values of the variable that make a quadratic inequality true. Is it A, test intervals, B, solution set, C, critical numbers, or D, test numbers? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Alright, math learners, I just told you earlier that the answer for a quadratic inequality is basically a set. Okay, because it has a shaded region or a boundary in which it will satisfy the given inequality. So that set or that solution is known as a solution set. Alright. Letter B is the correct answer. Let's check. Alright. Okay. I hope you got that one play of words. Now let us go to question number 30. Which is a quadratic inequality? Is it A, 40 squared minus 5t minus 10 is equal to 0? B, 7h plus 14 is less than 0? C, 3x squared plus x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 0? Or D, m squared plus 7m plus 12 is equal to 0? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about your answer. Alright, my dear math learners, among the 4 choices given, there are only 2 that are considered inequality. That is letter B and letter C. Why? Because letter A and letter D are equations because they are using the equal signs. Now, in letter B and letter C, they are inequality. But which among these 2 is a quadratic inequality? Then that is in the power of 2. So, obviously, the answer is letter C. Let's check whether we are correct. Alright, so my dear math learners, in just a simple amount of time, you have already finished 3 parts of our reviewer series. Now, question is, what is your partial score? Share it to our comment section below. If you find this helpful, please click the subscribe button and share this to your fellow friends, classmates, and schoolmates. Now, let us go to the last part of our discussion. Question number 31 to 40.